vinculación con la industria, la vinculación con la producción, para nosotros es un ítem fundamental.
Les presento al fundador y CEO actual de Netflix, Reed Hastings.
So, so Reed, I just heard before you stepped out here that today is actually not a school day. So they all came for this chat without having classes, and I think it's important if you could tell them why we're here and why you think it's important to come chat with students that took time out of their day to come and see us.
Well, I'm honored to be here today. As I travel around the world, I try to find time to meet with students everywhere, because I was sitting in your seat 40 years ago, trying to figure out life and what I was interested in, and it helped to see people come if they were willing to be honest. And I'm very grateful that you all came out in the middle of summer on vacation to come, so thank you for that.
So why don't we start, Reed, with some more personal questions, and tell us a little bit about your journey as an entrepreneur, as an educator, and how you came about forming and building Netflix.
Well, I never intended to go into business. I didn't know anyone in business. And I kind of went just to things that got me excited. So my first job was being a high school math teacher. I did that for a few years and enjoyed it. Then I wanted to get into computers. And the only job I could get was serving coffee in a computer lab. So I started doing that. And it happened to be that the company that I joined was the first .com in the world. This was 1986. And so it was 10 years before Netscape. So as I was serving coffee, I learned a lot about what they were doing with their high-end, expensive internet computers. And I learned a lot about the internet. And only 10 years later, when Netscape went public, did it become commercially relevant. And then I started Netflix in 1997. So it's a lot about where you first serve coffee.
And of course, it started as a DVD home delivery service that evolved into streaming today. How did that happen, and did you know that that would be the path? Or was it, did you discover that along the way?
Yes, we knew that we wanted to stream, and that's why we named the company Netflix and not dvdbymail.com. And like Amazon, we had a website. You could choose DVDs, and then we mailed them to you. And then we were waiting for when was the internet going to be fast enough to stream. And so 2005, YouTube launched, and we realized, okay, it's happening. And then in 2007, we launched the first Netflix streaming. And then with streaming, we didn't have to be only in the US with a postal system. We could be everywhere. So we launched in Latin America in 2011, 9 years ago now.
What was streaming the most that first year? Do you remember?
Heroes, a television show from the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about a day in the life of Reed Hastings. What do you do on a regular day?
Well, it's kind of strange because it's so fantastic right now. I go to work, I love what I do, I get to travel all over the world. This week it's 2 days in Brazil, 2 days here, 1 in Lima, then I'm in London, I'm in New York, and so it's very exciting. Now my kids are in university and beyond, and my wife, we've been married for 30 years, and if you get that lucky to have a 30-year marriage, you will find that your spouse says, well, after 30 years, a 1/3 husband is about right. So she loves that I travel a lot and that I try to get home on the weekends.
Have you ever had a mentor in your life, and what was some of the best advice that you received from him or her?
You know, the thing that you learn is to watch what people do, not what they say. And I worked at a startup, late 1980s. And about 40 of us, I was working very hard. I was just an engineer at the startup. And I would build up the coffee cups, kind of old coffee cups, kind of mess around the desk. And once a week or so, the janitor would clean them all. And one morning, I came to work very early, and I walked into the toilet, and I saw the CEO of the company there by the sink, and he was washing my glasses, my coffee cups. And I looked at him and I said, Barry, have you been washing my coffee cups all year? And he said, yes. And I said, why? And he said, you do so much for us, and this is the one thing I can do for you. And I realized I felt like I would work for him anytime, any place, because of his personal humility, his willingness to wash my just a regular employee's coffee cups, and how it made me feel loyal to him. So he didn't tell me, Reed, if you become a leader, be humble. But he showed me that that was a great path. And so that lesson has stuck with me.
That's a great story. I had not heard that one. Tell us a little bit about some of the most notable setbacks as well as accomplishments that you feel you've had on this journey.
Oh, we've had some difficult times at Netflix. After the first 2 years, we ran out of money, and we had to lay off a third of the company, and we barely survived, so that was a difficult time. And then later, when we were DVD by mail, we were trying to become streaming. We did that probably too quickly for our then US customers in what's called the Quickster episode. And our stock price dropped by 2/3 or 3/4. So it was a very difficult time. So there have been some big mistakes. But what I realized is, if we're going to be aggressive, if we're going to change entertainment, if we're going to be the company we want, it's inherent that we're going to make mistakes. And we have to accept that the price of moving fast is to make some mistakes and to be okay with that. And so I look back on those and say, yeah, but it's hard to not have made the mistakes when we were moving so quickly, and it's worked out overall.
I wanted to ask you about what books or series you're watching, but since you also just co-authored a book and that was just announced today, can you tell us a little bit about what's in that book and why is it important for you to have done that?
One of the things that's unusual about Netflix is the way we lead the company. So most companies are organized as if they're factories or the military, where it's very top down. And that's how most organizations have been. But creative organizations, like you are likely to work in, there you want to get lots of people thinking, generating ideas. And in those kinds of companies, we're not sure how to manage them. And Netflix is sharing how we do it so that other companies can take that and improve upon it. And the key with creative people is you don't want rules. You don't want to tell them too much. You want to allow them to find great ideas. So I say our job is to inspire, not to manage. And that's different from a factory. That's different from the military. And throughout the company, I tell people, I tell Rodrigo, your job is not to please your boss. In most organizations, you think about, oh, how do I please my boss? But at Netflix, we encourage people to try to do what's right for the members, for the business. And in that way that we grow, because everyone is thinking independently.
I hope I am pleasing you a little bit, though. So what series or movies are you watching right now that you could share?
You know, I recently watched one from last year, Unbelievable. That's a US crime series, that's great. Messiah is a new take on the second coming of Jesus. I was telling someone about it and they said, is it a documentary? I said, no. Not yet. So those are two of my favorites. And of course, last year, Two Popes was one of my favorite movies.
That's right. So switching gears a little bit in terms of the Netflix vision, what do you think are the opportunities and challenge for the entertainment industry going forward, and in particular for Netflix?
You guys are entering the entertainment industry at the best time the world has ever seen. Not only is YouTube a path, but Netflix is investing, Disney is investing, HBO Max is investing. All of them will launch in Argentina over the next 2 or 3 years. All of them will want to compete with Netflix. And all of us will be trying to bid to get the best stories. So the path for all of you, first creating great content on YouTube, and then getting into film festivals and working on productions, and then getting to Netflix and Apple and all of these global giants. We're all investing in every country, trying to find the next Casa de Papel. And if one of you is the next Alex Pina, we want you to come work for Netflix.
Speaking of the competition, how should we think about the competition that's entering, and how is that going to affect Netflix?
Well, for Netflix, our job is to focus on the members and to make our service better and better. Better choosing, more conversation about our titles, and incredible content. And so we don't focus on the competition, we just focus on how to improve so all of you talk about Netflix more. But I would say from your perspective, you're gonna have many more options for your entertainment over the next 5 years, and then many more people bidding to try to win your show to their service.
So speaking of Argentina, since we're here, how do you think Argentina is inspiring us and Netflix, and what are the opportunities that being present here could offer for Netflix?
Well, we've been investing around the world. We have some amazing series here. Puerta Siete, we're going to the launch in an hour. So that's a great new series filmed here. We've got a series, we've got a movie we're doing in Johannesburg about to launch, Queen Sono, that's I think something quite unique. Of course, we've got lots of European and Hollywood series. And then I understand that we're working on many new series.
We're working on a number of Argentine series. I think, as we said this morning, some of the best storytellers, some of the best producers, directors, and acting talent comes from Argentina, and so for us it's a privilege to be here and to be finding these great stories.
And of the new titles, which ones are you most optimistic about?
Well, Puerta Siete, which is about to come out, I'm extremely excited, but I think El Eternauta, which we discussed this morning, is something, I just heard a rumble. It sounds like that's a very ambitious show that people seem to be excited that's coming to the screen.
And we know it is a precious piece of Argentine property, and we hope to do a very elegant job, a series with it, and then to share it around the world. So that would make us very proud.
I think a lot of people in the audience are probably interested in getting a sense for what it takes to work at Netflix. What is some advice you would be able to give the audience members?
Well, it varies tremendously depending on the function. But to be a creator, it's really having your stuff noticed. You know, it's tough in the beginning because you're doing lots of work, both series and films, and trying to get people to pay attention and to give you comments and feedback. Really, YouTube's an incredible system for sharing that and building a portfolio. And then it's getting the local producers to take note of that, and sometimes Netflix directly. And I think that's probably the primary way.
Great. I'd love to be able to open the questions up to the audience. I don't know if there are any microphones, or I can just try to listen. And also, if you want to do it in Spanish, I will translate as well. So feel free to raise your hand.
And don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Right here. Sí, claro. Aquí enfrente.
Hola, hola. No, perdón, lo voy a decir en español. No, si pueden explorar o decir un poco más acerca justamente del Eternauta o acerca sobre más producciones que puedan provenir desde acá, desde Argentina, y que se distribuyan en el mundo gracias a Netflix o lo que sea. Pero si pueden expandir un poco más ese comentario acerca del Eternauta.
He's asking if we could expand a little bit on the Eternauta, which I would say it's early. So we've announced, of course, the project this morning, and we've been starting to write it. So we're very proud of how things are starting to come together. But there's not much news other than that to announce at this point. I think, as Reed said, it's a very ambitious project, and we're excited to put all of our effort to making it something that everybody can be proud of. But it's very early in the process of developing the story for a series.
Una consulta.
Claro.
En cuanto a los servicios de postproducción, la pregunta tiene que ver con los contenidos accesibles. Y si Netflix en Argentina va a dar trabajo a gente que hace audiodescripción, y cómo podríamos hacerle llegar ese material para trabajar en Netflix. Como productor independiente, o dar servicios a Netflix.
Servicios de postproducción.
Postproducción en cuanto a la audiodescripción. Hacer contenidos accesibles para personas ciegas.
Audio description for the visually impaired. They provide services, I believe, and the question is how can they make that available to us so that can be offered on the service?
I'll try to think of the right way. Maybe Rodrigo, afterwards, you could exchange contact information. We're doing more and more audio description. I think most of it's probably currently in English or then translated from the English. But we'd be interested in talking some more.
Hola.
Sí.
Bueno, mi nombre es Jorge, ¿qué tal? Gracias por estar acá. Y mi consulta está más vinculada a ser una empresa que nació en el mundo de la tecnología, en la plataforma digital. ¿Cuáles son los desafíos para ustedes con, por ejemplo, la incorporación de inteligencia artificial o otro tipo de tecnología digital a futuro para conocer mejor a sus clientes y poder ofrecerles contenidos a partir de la información que pueden captar del uso y del comportamiento de los televidentes?
So the question is, given that we are a technology company, what are the challenges we face with respect to technologies such as AI or others that could come in terms of maintaining that engagement with our audiences?
Well, the good news about AI is it will do many things in society, but your field, creating content, will be one of the last fields that AI gets good at. So think of it, 10 or 20 years, AI will work on self-driving cars and diagnosing medical issues and improving things. But it will be a very long time until AI can write a story or act as well as all of you. So you're on the relative safe side of the AI transformation of the next 100 years. We do use AI in terms of once a title is created, then we look at who should we promote it to. So you all have unique taste, and we want to take each film and each series and promote it or recommend it on the service to the right people. So in that aspect, we use a lot of AI, but nothing in the creation or selection of content.
To your point about the creative process, I think that there's sometimes been a misconception that we have some magic computer that spits out the formula for the next hit, and as we know that's not possible. So I think I agree 100% with your point.
How many of you saw our early Argentine special, ETA?
¿Quiénes vieron la serie EDA? La primera serie original.
Okay, not so many. So you can see we can get it wrong also. It's a very human process.
¿Otra pregunta?
Ok. A veces, primero gracias por venir. Siempre me he preguntado, cuando estoy buscando en el catálogo de Netflix, me encuentro molesto porque no encuentro las películas o tardo mucho tiempo. Y siempre me he preguntado por qué no hay playlists como en Spotify para que, si mis amigos tienen los mismos gustos que yo, evitar ese tiempo en el que me siento molesto y poder directamente acceder más fácil a contenido que me guste.
The question is, sometimes it takes him a very long time to find what he wants, and so why not do something like a playlist, like Spotify, in terms of what your friends may be watching?
We're continuing to try to learn how to do that well. When we've tried autoplay or playlists, it seems it doesn't please people. So in music, it's in the background, so you're not caring as much. But with entertainment, you're leaning forward and you very much care what it is. But it's a great dream of ours to say you can turn on Netflix and just tell Netflix, choose something. And then Netflix can choose for you a great movie or series. So we're trying to get there, but it's quite challenging.
Sí, yo quería hacer una pregunta de producción. En general en Latinoamérica es bastante más barato de producir que en otros continentes. Quería saber si la estrategia de producción de Netflix era solamente para comprar contenidos locales o también para filmar en Latinoamérica como servicio de producción por un tema de costos. Y la segunda pregunta era sobre contenidos. Si hasta ahora los contenidos producidos en Latinoamérica se han podido distribuir alrededor del mundo de una manera exitosa o si siempre han tenido más consumo en Latinoamérica y en el mercado hispano de Estados Unidos.
So the first part is, given that producing in Latin America is less expensive, how interested are we in not just acquiring content but making more and more of it here with local producers? And the second part is, have we found success with this content around the world, or does it primarily work only locally?
I think, Rodrigo, it's a great question for you.
Yes. So, I'm going to do it in Spanish. La primera te diría que definitivamente nuestro interés es trabajar cada día más y más produciendo localmente con productoras locales y productores locales. Esa es definitivamente la estrategia que tenemos de crecimiento, no solo en Latinoamérica, pero en todas las partes del mundo. Y contestando tu pregunta del contenido, lo que buscamos a través de las historias que producimos o compramos es, primero que nada, que funcione muy bien en el país local, y claro que en una región como América Latina, donde el idioma es común, pues también vemos que funciona muy bien en otros países de habla hispana. Pero lo bonito y que sucede también conforme vamos experimentando es que este contenido viaja muy bien a países de Europa, a veces inclusive a países de Asia, y creemos que conforme vayamos mejorando esas historias, más potencial de viajar a otros países de otros idiomas tendremos.
And Rodrigo, what stories have surprised you from Latin America that traveled less than you thought versus traveled more? Like, I think we knew that Nisman would be very popular here, but may not travel that well. But other ones we think do travel well.
Although I will say I thought Nisman was great and it should have traveled more, but it was a very local story, of course. I think, I would say El Marginal, which is a very beloved story that we've been a part of through an acquisition, but then we've stuck with it, has been doing very, very well for us in Argentina, but also been traveling to other parts of Latin America and also to Europe. It works, for example, well in places like France. And then I would say that, what else? Oh, well, Apache, which was a great story. I think it had the soccer theme, even though it was a backdrop to the story of an individual, was also one that was loved outside of Argentina, in addition to being very loved here in Argentina.
Hola. Mencionaste la importancia de YouTube como una plataforma de distribución y mi curiosidad venía por si activamente buscaban creadores de contenido ahí y qué tipo de creadores de contenido, porque ahí es muy variada y pensé, a ver, si es solamente como quien tiene ahí sus pequeños cortos que han hecho o la gente que, no sé, hace pequeñas producciones o que directamente producen para esa plataforma.
YouTube talent, it's huge, and you spoke about it. How much are we interested in finding talent there or working with talent from that platform?
It's one of our main sources, is people scouting YouTube, people hearing about and passing on series of, here's someone who's really got a new sensibility. If you look at our series, Next in Fashion, that's a great example of sort of a crossover type of title.
Hola.
Sí.
Acá. Al otro costado. Acá.
Hola. ¿Dónde es acá?
¿Me ves ahora?
Sí.
Bueno.
Creo que
gracias.
sí.
Bueno, en realidad primero felicitarlos a los dos por el trabajo que hacen y agradecerles en alguna medida porque uno es, acá le llamamos adictos, entre paréntesis, a Netflix. En mí pasan dos cosas. Yo soy autor desde hace ya muchos años. Soy miembro de la Sociedad General de Autores de la República Argentina. Y ustedes son para nosotros los autores en la Argentina como lo inalcanzable. Y yo estoy aquí porque quiero alcanzarlos. Necesito alcanzarlos. Yo estoy escribiendo para ustedes, pensando que algún día iba a llegar. Cuando me llegó la invitación para venir hoy dije, es mi oportunidad. Y quizás para algún otro que también lo manifieste, ¿no es cierto? Así que porque me han mentido tanto, anda para allá, vení para acá, toca allá. Yo tengo muchos contactos, que unos dicen que ustedes trabajan de una manera, que damos un curso, me mandé 3 cursos de 4 meses cada uno, que esto, y entonces para mí que tenerlos es, voy a llorar dentro de 2 minutos, tenerlos ahí y ver la posibilidad ahí. Yo lo que quiero saber, no solamente por mí, sobre todo al representante de Latinoamérica, ¿dónde tengo que ir a golpearte la puerta?
He's an author, and the question is, how do we become accessible which I think is a great question.
It's a challenging thing for a company in 190 countries around the world to be accessible. But we're going to continue to invest more in many countries of the world, including Argentina. So hopefully we'll become more and more accessible.
We probably had 5 years ago 1 or 2 people from Argentina at the company, and today, I don't know the exact number, but it's close to 20, I would say. So we continue to hire people more locally para que esa gente sea más accesible y esté presente en estos países, en cada uno de ellos, para que tengas una oportunidad de verlos.
Quiero ser el 21 ya.
Gracias.
Dame la dirección, Rodrigo, un correo electrónico para contacto.
No está muy difícil adivinar cuál es.
Buenas, ¿cómo va? Uy, está medio fuerte. Bueno, recién hablabas vos del acervo cultural de la Argentina, de la riqueza que hay acá, cosa que comparto, de las grandes historias, autores, bueno, mitos populares, etc. Y también tenemos como grandes cuestiones y grandes gastronomías, y particularmente algo muy nacional que es la infusión nacional, que es el mate. Y mi pregunta particular es si vos habías probado el mate en algún momento. Y si es así, si te interesaría probarlo ahora mismo.
Have you tried mate?
Please.
Lovely!
So read.
Muy bueno.
I
Serie sobre el mate.
would like to ask you something, just a bit. I will make 2
Dos
questions.
más.
Okay. So first of all, why did you choose Fadu to come here and to give all this? And second of all, so how is to have all this back on your back? Because like you have a lot of incidents in the global thinking, you know. You can change many things in this world. So I don't know. Tell me what do you think you will do for our generation to do it better? Okay. Okay.
There's a lot to do better.
You have a lot of power, man.
Do you know how we chose this school?
Oh, well...
It must be the leading film school in Argentina.
So we were invited, and we're pleased to be here. We know that this is one of the most important schools, not only in Buenos Aires and Argentina, but in all of Latin America, so it's an honor to be here. As far as the weight on your back and the responsibility, I think that's for you.
Yes, I'm sure we'll be back.
No, but I think the question was that we do have there's a lot of on your back in terms of the responsibility and power that Netflix has around the world. So how do you cope? How do you manage with that?
You know, our fundamental responsibility is to entertain people. Entertainment is so core to our human existence. And most people work to put food on the table for their family. And when they get home, they get a chance to relax. And we want to help them relax, escape, unwind, laugh, and make their lives a little sweeter. And so we think of our primary responsibility as towards our members and making them happier. Secondarily, we want people to build empathy between social classes, between religious groups, between nations, between time periods, and come to understand each other a little more. From increased understanding, we think we can build a better world. So it's both to entertain and to connect people.
Hola. Mi pregunta es...
Esta es la última pregunta, creo.
Sobre las salas de cine, que cada vez están más vacías, y esto que se dice mucho de que el cine como concepción clásica se está muriendo. ¿Qué opina usted sobre...?
Perdón, ¿puedes repetir la pregunta?
Las salas de cine, que cada vez están más vacías, y esta concepción del cine, el formato clásico de verlo y disfrutarlo en una sala de cine, y que el cine se está muriendo en ese aspecto. Quería saber su opinión.
Our opinion about whether traditional theaters are dying.
All of you can cook, and yet you still go to restaurants sometimes. And the restaurants don't say, we need an exclusive on chicken. The only place you can get chicken is a restaurant. Instead, they say, yes, you can cook, but we can create a better experience, social. And I think the key to movie theaters is to recognize they have a wonderful experience when you want to watch a film with others. You meet your friends there and it's enjoyable. In the US, now we're over 60 million households are Netflix members, and theatrical revenue is completely steady, no change. So this idea that better home entertainment hurts the movie theaters is not true. The movie theaters prosper like music concerts if they create a great experience. And so we're focused on better home entertainment. You know, we compete with piracy, we compete with YouTube, we compete with DVDs, with linear television, with all the things you do on the screen at home. But as big as Netflix has gotten in some countries, like the US, it has not hurt movie theaters.
Bueno, pues muchas gracias a todos por acompañarnos hoy y esperamos volver pronto con ustedes.
Thank you, everyone.